Every dog is an individual with its own fears and desires. Every family is an individual with their own goals and lifestyles. There's no magic wand solution for basic training, aggression, or anxiety issues. Together, we can come up with a solution that fits your home. I follow the animal behavior analysis model and philosophy. I work with the animal in front of me, not the breed or the species. For example, not all labs are friendly and want to swim, and not all German Shepherds want to guard things. I focus on what the family and the pup are dealing with and what you all need to grow together. Text me, email me, or call me so that we can start working on solutions for you and your family. Hello, everybody. How are you all doing tonight? This is the fourth Wednesday. This is where I come on and basically I just answer people's questions. If you have any questions regarding pet training, if you have questions regarding any type of animal behavior, particularly pet behavior, anything like that, I just ask that you go ahead, put those into the chat, and I would be happy to answer them as they come in. We do have some exciting news for Buckman Best Behaviors. We are moving our home, and the new location actually comes with quite a bit of land. And in addition, it's just set up much better. So for some of my distance clients who would rather come visit me in the past, we've had to go to parks and things like that just because I didn't have a location that was adequate to safely do that. But now we will. We're not in there yet, but we will be moving in there next week. And with that, that's just super exciting to us for just gaining that ability, but also for expansion in the future as well. There's also some potential other exciting things that I don't want to talk too much about with that location. But yeah, so that's coming in the works. And we might even make a little kind of a athletic little arena in the backyard because there's just so much space back there. Now, as I said, my name's Whitney Buckman. I am a pet behaviorist and pet trainer. I do actually take on a lot of anxiety cases as well as aggression cases. And I have worked in the zoo field before I switched to domestics. Full-time. I actually did domestics part-time for a long time, but I was actually in the zoo field for about 15 years or so, something like that, before I decided to go out on my own. I also got my degree in animal ecology and a minor in biology from Iowa State University, all helping me build my knowledge today. And I still am continuing my education process. I'm always looking for new trainers out there. I shouldn't say new trainers, but trainers out there to learn from. And I always try to apprentice under somebody every year because you can never stop learning, especially in this field. There's always something new. It's always changing. And every time we learn about animals, we find out they're just a little bit more complex than we had previously thought. So if you have any questions, go ahead, put those into the chat. I would be happy to answer them. If you just want to say hi, how are you doing? Go ahead, throw that in the chat as well. Now, you can reach me if you do need some help with your pets. You can reach me at BBBehaviors.com, right there-ish. There it is, there, right there, BBBehaviors.com. You can also give me a call at 620-805-9429. And finally, you can also email me at whitbuckman@bbbehaviors.com. All the info will be popping up right around this general area as I give up my talk tonight. But I would like to hear from you, because this is also a good opportunity for those minor little issues, so we can just discuss those and maybe help somebody along the way. Maybe they don't need a full session, but they need guidance in the right direction. That's why I do this every month, to just kind of answer questions. And they can be about your own pets. They can be about something you read on the internet. They can be just about anything. Because of the amount of time I spent with wildlife and exotic animals, I also still get quite a bit of questions regarding local wildlife. And right now it is fledgling season. And so I still, to this day, even though I started this business full time back in 2018, been training in Garden City area since about 2010. But I'm still getting questions on the baby birds and things like that, which, general rule, if you are watching and are curious about that, if you find a baby bird, just put it back where you found it. Try to wear gloves or paper towel or something to pick it up, to put it there. And it's not because of the reason you think. Usually people think that, it's because you'll smell, the mom will smell you and then will abandon the young. In all honesty, I don't know of any parent. I know some parent animals that will get stressed out, but once they're stressed, it's going to happen. But usually it's not because of the smell of the thing on the baby, especially with birds, because birds actually have little to no sense of smell, except for a few different varieties, but vast majority won't smell you. The reason you want to put those protection gloves between you and the baby are disease transfer between you and them, and also there's oils and funguses and different other things on our hands that are microscopic, that live in an environment inside a house that can get overwhelming for animals in the wild. So that's another reason. It's more for the protection of the baby itself, not so because the mom's going to abandon it. If you put it back, the mom will take care of it. Also, with fledglings, there always is a point in time where they're on the ground, so they will, the parents will care for them there. Very rarely does a bird actually learn to fly right off the bat. Now the question is whether or not it will be injured, and if it is injured, then the only people that can really take it are a vet, or really who you need to call locally is the Parks and Wildlife, and they'll take care of that. The closest wildlife rehabber that's licensed that I know of is all the way out in Hutchinson, Kansas, and I think the raptors can go to Great Bend. But just raptors, just the birds of prey, so owls and hawks and things like that. So if you are watching, go ahead, put your questions into the chat. I'd be happy to answer anything you have. Looks like we are starting off on a light night tonight, but I will be here till 9:00 tonight, answering your questions. So go right ahead. Put those into the chat and let me know what you're thinking. What would you like to know? Or maybe you saw some type of meme or something online, and that is what brought a question up. Like, is this true? Is this a fallacy? Anything along those lines. But if you have any questions, go ahead and put those into the chat, and I'd be happy to answer them. Now, while I'm waiting for questions, I would like to put a shout out to an organization I just got retrained with, which is Kansas SART, KSSART.org. I just recently got retrained again. It's been a very slow year with the training. I started up with them a couple years ago. I've yet to be deployed yet, knock on wood, because honestly, when this group is deployed, it means something bad has happened. So the deployment is for emergency situations. So KSART, what they do, or Kansas SART, what they do is when there's a disaster in the state of Kansas, you have the Red Cross that goes out for the humans, or some other or FEMA, things of that nature, will go out to help the people. Back after Katrina, they discovered a couple things, and one was people love their pets, and they will stay and not abandon their pets. So they passed an act, I can't remember what year, but basically they had to start these SART groups. And the SART groups, what they would do is what they would do is they would take care of the animals. So animals can't go into like a natural disaster area where people are. So KSART would put up a location where the pets can go. They also come in if there's a big hoarding incident. There's a few other things. Basically, since they're trained to handle suddenly a lot of animals, that's the type of work and jobs that they will do. But generally speaking, what we do is we go into a natural disaster, some type of disaster, and then we will help with the animals. So people feel safe. They can leave their home. They can go to where the humans are going for their safety, and we'll take care of the animals to make them feel safe. But of course, like anything else, it does cost money. All the information you can find is in that website, kssart.org. If you go there, you can actually donate money to the cause and help out with these types of emergency situations, because it is a pretty much an all volunteer-based group that is being organized and helped a little bit by the state. So, there we go. If you have any questions, go ahead and put those into the chat. I'd be happy to answer them for you. Earlier on, I did get to mention that we do have some exciting news while I wait for the comments to come in. We do have some exciting news with for Buckman Best Behaviors. We, as a family, are moving into a new home, and the new home has a lot of land and also is much better set up so that we can actually take on clients at the location. Now, I still will not be doing board and train at this point in time, but if you are out of town that would like to come into town and you would like, and we'd like to work with the pet, we now have a safe location that we don't have to go to a park or something like that. We have an enclosed, fully secure location that we can now use to help work with your pets. Now, I still prefer going into the home for a lot of behavioral issues simply because a lot of times the antecedents, the things that are leading to the behaviors that the people are having, are right there in the home. So I just really do like to still work one-on-one in the family home so that I can see, because sometimes I see things that are way more important than people realize. And once I see them in the home, then I can do that. So while I am able to take on pets and we can work on them at our new facility, I still prefer, if it's possible, to do at least a few sessions one-on-one with the family in the home so that I can identify any areas of interest. So if anybody has any, I see some questions. There we go. All right. Oh, hey, Sherry. Let's see here. Okay. The question is, it's not. The question is, the chat overlay is not working. Oh, interesting. What's going on here? Oh, well, here's the question. Misty tries to meow and nothing comes out half the time. Maybe she is shy. Would love to meet you and Mary sometime. She would love to meet us sometime. Of course, Rocky always loves company. He's not very aggressive anymore, I promise. Thank you, Kaz. I'm honestly, that just sounds quirky to me. I wouldn't be worried about it in the least with that behavior. But yeah, I can't wait to meet the rest of that horde. We also have some other exciting news in the pipeline for Buckman Best Behaviors, but that'll wait for next month. Bum, bum, bum. All right. So does anybody have any questions? If you have any questions, go ahead, put those into the chat. I would be happy to answer them. I'm trying to think what the big conversations in the training world are. Usually there's like a few that just kind of perk to the surface in almost every paper or book or podcast you listen to or talk you go to, and somebody's talking about it. Honestly, the one that has been brought up recently, been coming up quite a bit, is behavioral euthanasia, which I'm not going to stay too much on the subject because it is a very depressing subject, but behavioral euthanasia is because of behavioral issues and you just can't work through it, and eventually it becomes a point where it is a safety issue for everyone involved. So that's actually one of the reasons why I've gotten into the field that I'm in and started specializing in domestics, because I found that a lot of people do not know how to handle or work with their pets in those situations. So I actually switched gears, and that's why I take on so many aggression and anxiety cases, because really one of my main goals is to save lives. It is to save those animals' lives and save the relationship of the family. So that's actually a major topic. I think almost every other podcast I've listened to over the past 2 months regarding pet behavior and pet training have actually been going into the subject. So I'm all about puppies right now, because I'm tired of listening to that. Well, it's important for me to. I need to mix it up with some happy. So if you have any questions, or you just want to say hi, go ahead, put that in the chat. I'd be happy to answer whatever you have, whether it's about pets, whether it's about whether it's about I don't know. Let me think here. Whether it's about pets, whether it's about wild animals, because I do have quite a bit of time as well with wildlife and such. The family. Coming up there. There we go. That's exactly what. Okay. So that going to that euthanasia discussion, that's exactly what happened with Rocky, and he's safe with you now, which is great. Occasionally, I do have to deal with that. It is one of the reasons why people in the animal field, it actually has a very, very high rate of depression and suicide rates. I think actually veterinarians, I would want to venture that it goes to all in the animal care field, but the suicide rates of vets, they know the problem is they don't classify everything the same way, so it's hard to say. But I do know that vets are one of the highest suicide rates. And the simple thing is, there's so much compassion fatigue. People don't get into this field because they want to make money. We get into this field because we're passionate about it. So we have to deal with these, and this is a full-on situation. I've had to deal with a few scenarios in my time, and what I do is, my job isn't to make the final decision. My job is to guide and give as much advice to the owners, so that if they're in that situation, that they can make a more fully informed decision, and they feel like they've hit every avenue that they can. So anyway, let's go to happier subject. Lady Rodney, you have a cat named Missy. That's good to hear. Missy. My sister's cat growing up was named Missy, way back in the day. Never mind how many moons ago that was. We had that cat before I even started training dogs, and that was in 92. I mean, what? That was the very first time I was properly started to be trained with dogs. Now, my training style has evolved over the years. I do not use the same methods that I did back in 92. I'm actually very much with a focus on positive reinforcement. And I also utilize a lot of the principles and practices of animal behavior analysis to decide and come up with plans for my clients. Now, if anybody does have any questions, go ahead, put those questions into the chat. I'd be happy to answer them. If you have any, it can be about wildlife, it can be about pets, it can be about whatever. Maybe there's something that you're running into in your own home. Go ahead and ask. Or if something's weird, and I'll say, yep, that's a weird behavior. Or I'll go, no, that's pretty normal. Vast majority of the time I say that's pretty normal, but I have seen quite a few that are like, well, that's unusual. But go ahead, put it in the chat. I'd be happy to answer them with whatever questions you have. All right. Looks like we're starting to get a few people in here. But if you have any questions whatsoever, go ahead, shove that into the chat. Let me answer those for you as best I can. I only have a couple years worth of animal experience. I got really scared that I might be old with how many years I started adding up. If you count college with animal ecology and the wildlife rehabilitation that I've worked, then I've been doing this for, let's see, how long have I been working with animals? Oh God, that'd be 98. So that'd be, I wanted to say 13, but I think that's actually 23, isn't it? That's professionally. And then I actually started, before that, I was a volunteer at the Henry Dorley Zoo in high school. And then also in middle school, is when I started doing dog training with the 4-H groups and things like that. So holy cow, I actually have professional level at 23 years now. When did that happen? I swear that was last week. Swear it was last week. What is going on here? That's a lie. So if anybody has any questions, go ahead, put those into the chat. I'd be happy. Oh, I see some. Okay, there we go. Just got to go back and forth between my little things here. My dog got lost. Would a silent dog whistle help lure him? No. That's actually an excellent question, because that is a myth that a lot of people have, because they see dog whistles working quite a bit. The thing with dog whistles is it has to be a learned behavior. You actually have to train them to react to the whistle. So they don't naturally go towards it. In fact, if anything, it's the first time they hear that sound, they might actually run. So what I have done in the past is I've cued the dog whistle to a recall. So basically the come command or here, but I just make that react to the whistle. So you have to actually work ahead of time for that to happen. And then the reason we would do that is if you have a dog that is likely to run further away, the whistle blows further and they can hear it, and you're not necessarily disturbing all your neighbors going screaming real loud. But unfortunately, you have to train that behavior before it actually happens. So a lot of the stuff that I actually work with, so I get a lot of puppy clients, and one of the things that I work with is just getting them to we work to prep them. So I honestly, being from the zoo field, I tend to think on the worst possible scenarios. So usually my clients are actually over prepared with most things that they'll ever deal with. But hey, when it shows up, then they're ready for it, and then it happens. And then there's actually quite a few times where people go, "Oh my God, this happened. We did the thing you said," and then the dog, and then turned into a non-event. I was like, "That's why we work early. That's why we do that." And I hope that helps their lady, but yeah, unfortunately, it doesn't work right off the bat. But yeah, there's a lot of times people will come back to me and very happy with the work that we've done now. Sometimes it doesn't. I think it's funny because I can definitely tell. I do some of these exercises and they're like, "What is this for? This seems pointless. This seems worthless." And a lot of times I'm like, "Trust me, we're putting a foundation in for something later on to help us out." And then once that foundation gets in there, boom, then they see it, and then they're like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you were able to fix this other behavior in like 2 minutes." I'm like, "That's because we put the foundation in early on. I was prepping for these things later on," because sometimes people don't tell me that there's an anxiety issue or some reactive issue. Actually, there's one client recently that it just didn't come to thought, because it's just, there's a lot of things that you just deal with in your daily life and you don't think of it as important. And then suddenly I come in and maybe we're a few sessions down, and then suddenly it's important because I see it, and then they see it and they go, "Yeah, you know what? That is important. That is a scary behavior. Let's do something about it." And then I say, or they assume that they can't do something about it, and I see it and I'm like, I can fix that, right? It's just always the question is, how much work are you willing to put in, and how important is it to you? So those are the questions I always ask right up the front, because some of the especially the more ingrained ones, usually we're focusing on dangerous behaviors and things like that. But also I do cooperative care behaviors where we like train the dog to get their nails did and things like that. So yeah, but if you have any questions, go ahead, put them into the chat. I'd be happy to answer them for you. Let's see, it should be, hopefully it's linking to the YouTube. I'm not checking the YouTube, but usually nobody's there anyway. But yeah, go ahead and put them into the chat, and I'd be happy to answer them, whether they're your domestic animals or if you just want to say hi. How are you doing? Let me know how you're doing, and we can just kind of chill and relax. If you've seen a meme maybe that you're questioning regarding animal behavior, I'd be happy to answer that as well. All right. Now, earlier in the at the beginning and a couple other times, I think I've mentioned we do have something exciting in the works. I shouldn't say it's in the works. Next week we're moving in, but we're moving into a new home, and with that new home, that's going to be good news for Buckman Best Behaviors because it has a lot of land and it has a fully enclosed fence with footers and everything to bells and whistles. And we're going to add a few more bells and whistles so that clients can actually come by and see the so that clients can come by and we can train on site at my facility. This, I don't recommend this necessarily for the people that are close by here in Garden, but I do recommend it for my more distance clients that are trying to save money. So now I'd still like to see the environment, because sometimes when I'm in the environment, we can fix some things with those animals, but or I can see something in the environment that'll help increase success. But if we need to, and we need to save costs, and you need to come visit me here in Garden, I now have a location so we don't have to go to a park or something like that, and we can safely work together. Well, no problem. I'm happy to share this and inviting everybody. This is just something I put on every month on the third Wednesday of the month. I do it from 8 to 9, and this is just to kind of just help with simple questions. And maybe somebody's on the fence of whether they need a professional animal behaviorist in there with their situation, and maybe they can ask some questions. I can go, you know what, we do. Or I can say, you know what, how about you try this? If that doesn't work, then we do. So this helps get rid of helps with the simple, gives people a chance to ask a professional for just simple issues, and maybe get some guidance if they just don't have the money to afford it. Because unfortunately, I do have to charge because I do need to keep the lights on. But yeah, I do want to help. One of my goals is to just help as many animals and families as we can. That is the number one goal that I have. Now, if anybody has any questions, go ahead, put those into the chat, and I will be happy to answer them. We have, as I said, this can be about anything. It can be about a pet that you have. It can be a pet in the past. It can be quirky behaviors, or you just want to say hi. How are you doing? What's going on? I'm going pretty good. But just go ahead, put those into the chat. Now, if you do need to get a hold of me, my name is Whitney Buckman. I'm with Buckman Best Behaviors, and you can go to right there, BBBehaviors.com. You can also reach me at 620-805-9429, and also you can email me at whitbuckman, WHITBUCHMAN, at BBBehaviors.com. So please go ahead and put your questions into the chat, and I will be happy to answer them. Oh, Cammie. When I leave for vacation, my cat pees and poops everywhere but the box. Okay. This could be a stress-related issue. So even for like 2 nights, yeah, it doesn't take much. Cats are notorious for not liking change in their environment. In fact, cats have this behavior that people don't usually notice. They actually stalk their house multiple times a day to make sure things don't move. And then when things move, they like note it and whatnot. And how much stress that causes them, it depends on the individual cat. So my guess is your cat has some form of separation anxiety. And when those stress hormones go through them, that's causing them to pee and poop everywhere but the box. Now, this can be for a couple different reasons. It could just be simply behavioral, in which case the best thing I would suggest is we try a few different things. You can try stress pheromone stuff. You can try some diets that are known. I would actually go to your vet and say, are there any diets for stress-related things, and some of them can be more fast acting or medications that you could do before you leave, as long as the act of giving this medication isn't stressful or becomes an antecedent to you leaving, and then that causes more stress because they just predict it even further. But the thing is, there's pheromone emitters, and those have about a 50-50 shot from my experience with them putting in with the pheromone emitters with the cat to relieve the stress of the animal. They are very expensive, so I would actually try to only use it like maybe a couple days before you leave, or right when you leave, you put it in. Maybe a couple days before you leave, put it in, just to alleviate some stress and see if that helps. Another fact, there could be a physical factor. Stress causes a pH shift in the body, in which case some cats have, I've experienced this with some of mine, which they have various disorders. The most common one is like feline lower urinary tract disorder, and it's very unknown. It's kind of like one of those like, well, here's a bunch of symptoms. We don't know what causes it. We're just lumping this all into one category until we get more data on it. And that's kind of the idea that this disorder is. So it's not well defined. It's not well known what causes it. But we do know that stress hormones can change the pH in a body. And if the cat is having separation anxiety from you, that can cause them to have urinary issues. The urinary and feces sometimes go hand in hand. So sometimes it could be a simple diet change. I'd have to talk with a vet to find out if that diet change needs to be long-term versus short-term. Like, can you give it to them for a couple of days and it'll help alleviate, or does it need to build up over time? My cats, for example, are on urinary tract disorder, de-stress, and that helps them because when they started going outside of the box, it was because of that feline lower urinary tract disorder. Basically, literally, we changed the diet, and a multiple year-long behavior was cut overnight. So, pheromone emitters to help de-stress, medication from the vet, or short-term medications from the vet that create less stress when you leave, and or what was that last one? Medicated diet or prescription diet. Let's not say medicated diet. Prescription diets. These are just very well balanced for specific issues. And I believe cats do have a de-stress one that you can get, but you have to get it from your vet, and you can only get it from your vet. So that would be my initial thing. The other thing we can do is try to create some type of positive reactionary thing for when you leave. Perhaps some type of, it depends. If other people are home, then they could possibly put out like more catnip, more enrichment, more toys, more attention to help distract the cat from the fact that you're gone. That would be another factor. That'd be more the behavioral side of things that you can really work on. Otherwise, the other method is for long-term fix for this would be a desensitization thing, but it's be very tough to do because you're already gone every day for work, which means the desensitization process would literally have to require you leaving the house for a night, coming and and then slowly increasing it. So I just don't see that as a easily doable thing unless you had two homes kind of deal. So really what I would do is make sure that everybody, when you leave, I would actually create like a plan, like, you know what, at 3:00, somebody has to play with the cat with the feather toy. At 5:00, somebody has to do this. At 7:00, somebody has to do this. Like literally structure out what we call enrichment, things that will basically create joy and excitement for the cat. Toys that she never gets to play with, or that she doesn't often play with, that she does like, come out when you leave. The thing is, though, they have to come out after you leave, not before. Because if they come out before you leave, then they become a precursor and the cat starts stressing too early. So you need to do it, have the people that are still at the house take the stuff out after you leave, and then start bringing it to the cat's attention with a very structured, we're doing this. In all honesty, I would utilize what we call the shotgun method and just do everything all at once and see what works. That's the most costly, but if you want it to happen fast, that's what you got to do, especially with this. I'm guessing it's not often enough to really do what we'd like to do is like a full test to see what is working and what is not. So usually in these situations, we just throw all the things that I just said, the diet, medication, more enrichment, and pheromone emitters, just do it all. It could just be one or two of those things or three of those things, but doing them all has a much higher guaranteed success rate right off the bat. So I hope that helps out with that. And I hope you're writing all that down because yeah. All right. So if anybody has any questions, go ahead and put those questions into the chat. I'd be happy to answer them. And let me know, Cami, if that made sense to you or if that helps at all. Just go ahead and put that in the chat as well. And if you need any further, I will call the vet tomorrow. I've been at my wits. I totally understand. Excellent. Yes. Those are definitely the things that I would do. I would just kind of do a shotgun. Pheromone emitters, as I said, about 50-50 shot. When they work, they work great. When they don't, it doesn't hurt anything. It just costs money. But if anybody has any questions, go ahead, put those into the chat. I'd be happy to answer those for you. This can be about any animal behavior, pet training, whatever you need to do with that. Now you can go find out more information about me at BBBehaviors.com. And you can also get a hold of me at 620-805-9429 and Whit Buckman at BBBehaviors.com. And as I said, just go ahead and put your questions into the chat. And it looks like we have another question. All right. Let's see. I have 2 healer border collie pups that really get into bad fights. Help. They are 4 months old. Okay. So I would actually need to see how bad they are. The question, okay, whenever there's a fight situation, they're litter mates. Okay. So whenever there's a fight situation, the first things I will be asking you are how bad are the bites? Is there blood? Is there wounds are lacerations? Are there puncture wounds? At 4 months, they're not going to have a lot of puncture wounds because their teeth are a lot smaller. They might have a few of their adult teeth right now, but usually they don't quite yet. So I'd be asking that, like how, or another better question is what makes you say that these are really bad fights? And this isn't anything to, not like second guessing anybody on these, but I need to know because there's actually a scale of how bad a fight or a bite is with animals. So I actually need to very specifically narrow it down. And since everybody comes from a different place, like for example, I've seen some really bad fights. So my 10 is usually or my 3, I should say, might be somebody else's 10 because that's the worst thing they've seen. Kind of deal. No blood. They're biting on the neck and face. Okay, so that to me actually suggests that it is playing. If there's no blood or anything like that, this is very common, especially with really high energy pups that they would no injuries on them. Okay, if they're not injuring each other, I'm usually not super worried about it. However, that said, if it's giving you stress, then what we do is we try to relegate into new behaviors. So, for example, I would actually train animals to do what's called targeting, where they go towards a hand or I've shown this video before. I'll show it again just to explain what a target is. But a target training is when an animal touches a body part to something. And I usually use it for redirection. With puppies, it works great. And if you're getting bothered by their playing or their fighting, then I would, let's see here if I can find it. There you are. Well, no, let's just go to somewhere else. I would actually redirect them. They grow a low, deep. I'm assuming, wait, they growl deep, low, deep, They seem to focus intense. Okay, that intensity, I'd have to actually see the behavior. If you can give me a video or something like that, drop it into, you can send it. I've seen touch training with reptiles. Okay, yeah, so I do it with all my animals, birds, reptiles, whatever. We work with that. Let me see if I can get the up. There's my presentation. Okay, so we do have so target training, I usually have them touch a body part or something. For dogs, I have their nose touch a hand, because you always have your hand and then you can ask to redirect them. Then after redirecting with this behavior, what I would then do is guide that, or after getting them to come to you with the touch or the recall, I would then immediately redirect them to tug toys. And once they realize that they can play with tug toys and they get all that excitement out, they might redirect that need for that play behavior towards that. But you have to do it over and over and over again, and you have to fulfill that excitement. So this would be the, let's see if I can share this correctly. This would be the touch thing that for those that don't know what I'm talking about with the touch or the targeting behavior. This would be it right here. Let's see here. There it is. Okay, let's see here. Oh,
perfect.
Okay.
Okay, and I'm guessing target still works just fine.
Target up here, target down here.
Yeah, show it.
So that one's a very high energy target behavior right there. So yeah, that one's a very high energy target behavior that we started very young with that pup. I use that to redirect away from things with puppies. So whether they're chewing on each other, whether they're chewing on the old dog in the place, whether they're fighting too much and you just want it to stop, that's usually when I target them. I've actually done that with redirection. Do I give treats? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. In this situation, I would actually just start giving them the tug toy, because the problem with the treats is they're going to stop the playing. And the thing is, you want to actually reprogram them that playing is with these tug toys so that they play with tug with each other. I actually do have a video of me with one of my dogs. Let's see. Do I have a Gray Wind video clips? Gray Wind. Anyway, so I would actually not give them treats for going. Well, if they're not coming to you and just want to keep fighting, then I would definitely come up with something that they want more. But then I would immediately switch to the toy as fast as you can, because as soon as they are bored and puppies have very little attention span, they're going to be right back at each other, or they'll switch and redirect on you, which is also what we don't want. So, but I'm very hesitant for 4-month-old puppies to think that this is an aggression thing. The low growl, a lot of people do. The thing is, a lot of dogs growl differently, and that low growl can also just mean excitement. So they're just like, "Arr," and then they leap on each other because they're just planning their assault. They're learning to be adult dogs. And that's one of the practices, is to practice that low growl, even though in a non-serious situation. So I'm thinking that that's what you're running into, but without actual videos, it's very hard for me to determine per se. But I wouldn't be fully afraid yet on this situation. Nope, I don't have. I know where there's a video somewhere where I targeted Gray Wind away from his older brother because of the same situation. But even to this day, that dog loves to pick on his older brother Oscar. They're not litter mates though, but I would just keep an eye on it. Yeah, if you can get a video to me. Okay, yes, and that okay. So that you can't redirect when they're zoned in. Understand that completely. That's why you need to train the behavior outside of those high excitement zones and start programming the brain, because that's the thing. You can't ask them to do it for the first time under the high stress moment. Now, another thing to help increase success under the high stress moments is we use higher value reinforcers. So a reinforcer is anything that the animal wants. It's food, it's play, it's whatever. But all reinforcers have different values. I always say that I see the world with little price tags on them from the animal's perspective. And each animal just will decide what is or is not, or where the value is on it. So I would take a high value reinforcer, such as ham, turkey, even cheese. I usually don't like, I mean, all these things are meant for snacks, not meals. Something that they would go crazy for. And then you'd be surprised at how many will go, what? And then turn and go towards you. But also, if you practice enough and they do get regular rewards, the value of regular treats go up. Or if you're having a hard time, maybe periodically just switch in a high value treat and then go, it could come at any point. But if you work for it outside of the high stress, it does work in the high stress. And sometimes another thing, people will be like 20 feet away and expect it to work, because when they're in the no stress zone, it works there. But when they are highly focused on something, you're going to have to be closer. Another factor with these reinforcers, because what they are doing is also a reinforcer. They like that. They're having fun. So you have to outvalue that somehow. You have to think of it like, if whatever they're doing is worth $100 to them, you got to come up with $200-$300 worth of stuff to get them to look your way. So the tricks we use, switch to higher value stuff, maybe get it out, get their attention. And as soon as they come to you, maybe have them sit, redirect to give them their treats, and then redirect towards tug toys. But you do it over and over and over again to try to break that behavior loop. Because right now, the more that they wrestle with each other, the more that they do that, the more that they're going to be enjoying it. The more that I've been calling them snowballs lately. So every time they do a behavior, that it's going to snowball one more roll and get bigger and bigger. And then I've been calling them yellow snowballs and white snowballs. White snowballs are the good behaviors. We're calling the yellow snowballs the bad behaviors. So we don't want those yellow ones to repeat over and over. So we try to interrupt it as best we can. So we use distance, because reinforcers are also like gravity, and the closer two objects are together, the stronger that force. So if you can't ask from 10 feet away, but maybe you have to hold, usually I don't want to hold the reinforcer up right up to their face when I'm doing a regular behavior. But if they're at that point, they're not thinking. So what you need to do is you need to snap them out of it. And then once they snap out of it and go, what? Oh, the turkey. Oh, and then they are redirected to you. Then you can now ask them, hey, now I'm asking you to target or sit or do some other behavior. And then we wrestle with this tug toy instead. And then the more they do the tug toy, because they're going to enjoy that too, the more that white snowball will grow. Does that make sense? It's going to be kind of complicated, and it is tough because they are into it a lot, which is why you need to do the practice now. And it's going to be rough. I never tell people it's going to be easy. It takes a lot of repetition. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort. But I will say this, and also you're going to feel real like backwards in about 5 months when they hit their teenage phase, because you think it's bad now. Well, what happens is they are progressing, and then people are like, what did we do wrong? And I'm like, you did nothing wrong. They're a teenager. There isn't a species on this planet where the teenage phase is fun. So excellent. So it does make sense. Excellent. And I should actually put your initial comment up so that people that come in know that what we're talking about. So there we go. So anyway, so I would just redirect so that they go to more appropriate things. Usually when I'm dealing with the redirect, I personally, but every house is different. So I train to whatever the household wants. So if you don't want your pups fighting that way, that's fine. Because also maybe it does go into an aggressive thing, and we don't want that. So we will work towards that. At this age, if they're wrestling like that with each other, generally I'm not too worried about it, as long as we're not having one yelping and running away consistently. If one's yelping and running away consistently, then we are in what is basically a bullying situation, and we have a negative effect happening. So unless you're running into that, where one's just basically getting picked on over and over again, or it's just so much and you just need a break, and you need to find a way to get them to redirect. But generally also, I do like having them break up willfully during those, just because it is a good training exercise to practice, because if you can get them to do it now, then it'll be much easier to get them to stop when they're much bigger, 50, 60, or depending on the breed, some breeds, I think your guys were probably Healer and Border Collie. Maybe you'll get up to like 70 or so pounds, but shouldn't be getting into the hundreds or anything. But before they're bigger, just practice. And then when you'll ask, and then they'll break up real quick. And that's usually when I get a phone call. They did it. I was like, excellent. I'm very happy. But I would stay the course, start doing that practice over and over again. And then, and also if they're having a hard time breaking up, then maybe I would do, you asked earlier, if a treat, I might give a treat, but then immediately redirect towards the tug toy, and maybe you get involved, and then you let go and let them just tug with each other. So maybe you might need to get a longer tug toy so they can both get an end, you hold an end, and all three are fighting. And then slowly you just kind of let go and let them just continue with each other. And then that will teach them that tug toys are fun with each other, and they don't have to always be fighting with play fighting with each other. But my guess is it's just normal. This age usually does that. The main issue I'm running into, I don't worry about it as much with them doing it to each other, but when they redirect on, say, the toddler in the house, they have fur, so playing rough like that, they don't hurt each other. But when they do it to the toddler, we're going to have a bloody toddler very quickly. But usually those methods work. It just takes a lot of time and a lot of effort, because you're working through some very tough drives right there. All right. Oh, let's see here. They do have tug toys for cats, and technically I give tug toys to cats all the time. We'll give tug toys to cats all the time. Usually the tug toy that people have for the cats is that little feathery, that little feather fishing line thingy. But if you want two cats to tug after it, the problem is cats are not social players per se. They're not a pack hunter, so they won't necessarily engage all the time with each other. So that's also so the techniques I use is operant conditioning. It works across species: human, animal, cat, dog, bird, whatever. It works, but we do have to cater it to what we call the natural history or the individual species. And cats just are not wired to want to engage in a lot of, no, they are not engaged. They don't want to engage with the other cats. House cats are what we call, I've heard the term semi-social, which is an ill-defined term. That basically just means they'll hang out. They'll hang out, but they don't pack hunt. They do everything on their own. They like to have a few cats nearby, like maybe depending on the territory size. And you can have, if there's plenty of food, then they make those packs can be huge, but they're not like working as a unit. They're just like, hey, this is a nice place to live, huh, guys? Yeah, all right. But they're all in their own apartments, if you will. All right. What is the best way to keep my dog in the yard without having her run across the road? Okay. So there's a few factors in this. I get this all the time. Unfortunately, there is let me touch this, and then I'm going to go back to the dog. Usually distract them with a feather or twirling toy in each hand. Yep. Great arm exercise. Yes. Okay. Now back to this dog thing with the yard. So keeping them in the yard. There is no magical way to keep an animal in your yard, especially if you are not there. Even the best trainer, like unless you have a massive yard, they're gonna wander. Especially, and even if you're not there, they're gonna wander farther. There's nothing unless you are there to unless you are there to, I'll answer that here in a second, Cammie. Unless you are there to give the reward and everything else, there's no real drive to stay with you. Now, also, one thing that I like to say a lot is I really don't like clients having their pets off leash. It technically is illegal in cities and things like that, in most cities. But also, even the best trainers, and honestly, I'm listening to this podcast with some of the world-class athletic trainers and various sports trainers, and they all agree that it's great and it works until it doesn't. All it takes is one bad moment, and then boom, like the rabbit at the wrong time, the wrong day. You might have the best behaved dog, but maybe they're just having an off day. Maybe it's a full moon. I don't know. Maybe they've had a lot of stressors stacked to that day, and they're just off. Maybe they're just not feeling well. And then suddenly their behavior is going to be shift, and then suddenly they're going to listen to you less. So that's one issue. So right now I'm not sure where you're coming from. If you're just saying like keep them in your yard but with like a fence yard, or if you just want them in your yard, period. But if you're not there, they're not going to stay there. There's no way to get that to happen. You might be able to get some type of remote feeder that pops out treats on a regular basis to keep them more interested. But if you're not there to monitor, they'll do what they want. So I always want to make sure that that's understood. The other factor is really you have to do a lot of training to keep them coming to you and want to be by you, and then recall them. The best thing, honestly, is a fully fenced in yard that's adequate for your animal. If you have a medium to large dog, a 3-foot fence is not adequate for that animal. You're going to need a 5 to 6 or more fence. For my dog, for example, I have a Malinois, and all my dogs, well, except now they're aging, but they were very athletic. I have a 6-foot fence with an 8-inch inclined roller bar on top to keep them in. I also have buried fencing on the ground so they can't dig under. The place that we're moving into, I've mentioned that a few times, it has a fully enclosed 6-foot privacy fence around the whole place with a concrete footer along the whole way, all half acres. But anyway, that's why we're happy about that purchase, so that we can bring clients over. Anyway, also, but that's really the best. If you don't have that and you're having a cost issue, I am okay with those like invisible fences. However, don't leave the collars on them unless they're going outside. And also be careful how they learn, because they are basically shock collars, so it's going to cause pain. What happens is they get too far from the house, they will be shocked. It is a part of operant conditioning. It's one that I try to avoid as best I can, because I do like to focus on positive reinforcement. But you either have to punish them for going too far or reward them for staying by. And the problem is, if you're not there, you can't reward them. And if you're not there, you can't punish them either, honestly. So with a perimeter fence, if you can't afford an actual full fence for whatever reason, then you're going to need something along those lines. If you do that, make sure that those aren't on them 24/7 and that the batteries are charged. Also, they do have some side effects. I have seen one client where they put it on them, and then the dog hit the limit, got shocked because they set it too high, and it caused a PTSD moment with the animal. And then basically that animal associated, it's called a superstitious event, when the animal associates two things that weren't actually related. In this case, the dog associated with grass and literally stopped going to the bathroom on grass, would only walk on the wood deck or the concrete, and that was all they would do to go to the bathroom. So basically the patio, and also their whole yard became unusable by that dog because it was just too frightened. So that's why. So really the best thing, no fence, 16 acres, also goes towards the road. How would you punish? Really, the thing is, you can't unless you have. Okay, so you don't have a fence. It also goes towards the road. In your situation, if you have 16 acres, I would get one of those electric collars and maybe a radio fence, and in which case the dog can only go maybe 20 feet from your house. And that is it. Otherwise, you're going to have to put an underground fencing. That is literally the only thing you can do. There's this myth that animals will stay there, kind of Lassie movies and all the movies growing up kind of have that kind of going, but they don't. They will not do that unless there's some outside force. I personally would like to avoid punishment as much as possible, which is why I prefer the fenced-in method, but it does cost more. If you're going to use it, I would use either a radio collar that has a distance, i.e. they get too far, it starts beeping and warns them, and then it shocks them when they go too far, and then they come back. That's really the only thing that's going to work. Otherwise, you have to be out with the dog. And if you're not there, then the dog has to be inside or kenneled at all times. There is no way to monitor that. And because every chance that you're not there, they are learning. So they will be learning. And every time they get away, they're having one. Well, I was talking about it earlier with white snowballs and yellow snowballs. Yellow snowballs are bad behaviors. And every time they do it, the snowball gets bigger. And then the white snowball would be good behavior, like coming to you. Really, there's no good way. And when it comes to shock collars, I will not put them in the hands of somebody without me working through them with it. I'm not a fan of them because it takes really, those are in my opinion, they're a more advanced training tool because you can screw things up way easier with that. I heard a story. Somebody was using it incorrectly for the same thing, and they ended up teaching the dog to be afraid of somebody instead. So as far as a remote shock collar, I will not give advice over an online platform like this. We need to sit down, have a talk, and teach how to use that in a proper way, because there's a lot more to it with that structure. Really, if the easiest thing for you, get one of those radio perimeter things. And then when the dog goes too far, they come back. That's really the only option. However, if they already have a negative memory of stuff like that, it could go very badly. But there's no real good way, because the thing is, if you punish them for leaving, all that really does is they end up fearing you. The thing is, the punishment has to be completely separate from you, or that's going to damage the relationship with you, which is why if you're going to do it, I would do it with one of those perimeter situations, either an underground fencing, in which case you have to put a wire cable around the whole area that you want the dog to have access to, or just a radio one that just you put it here and it goes X distance away, because that's just how far the radio signal can carry. Which, depending on how powerful one you get, that determines how far the dog can go. That's really about the only thing. Otherwise, it's recall work, and then rewarding as they stay by you. But as soon as you're not there, those rules are out the window. A lot of people when you're not there, there's a lot of different things. There's this thing we call antecedents in the behavior world, which are literally the things that happen before a behavior. So a lot of people are like, oh, I trained my dog to not lay on the couch, but they're out all the time. And I'm like, I bet you 100%. And every time we've done the experiment, or somebody else has done the experiment, put cameras out, as soon as the owner leaves, that dog is on the couch, like the instant, because the presence of the owner is the antecedent to that behavior. So staying in the yard, even if we work with it, you will have to be there because you're part of that behavior process. Some dogs naturally just don't want to go far, but there's way more dogs that want to go far. So it just depends on the individual personality. There's no real good way unless you're watching that dog every time they're outside. But every time they come to you, I would mark and give rewards to him. Every time he comes back to you, basically do a lot of recall work. And while he's staying with you, just randomly throw him treats so he wants to stay by the house. That would be how I would do it there. But as I said, as soon as you're out of the picture, that goes away. So usually my best suggestion. This is such a tough one to deal with, but really just fencing is the only way to keep an animal inside a perimeter, 24/7 especially. Do you recommend any over-the-counter calming treats that are safe and effective for pups? Nope. Oh, wait. Oh. No problem. When it comes to calming treats, the ones that are over-the-counter, I have yet to see a study that actually shows any of them work. And actually, before I go into this, let me, Cammie did ask how to schedule with me. You can go to my website and you can schedule online and we can do a first session. That's one easy way. Boom, boom. I took away some of the cost stuff with regards to it because some still needs some discussion before we can actually do that. But as far as just scheduling a session, just go there, pick a time on the calendar, and then we can talk and get it all set up. You can also call me at 620-805-2785. 9429. And also, you can reach me at whitbuckman@bbbehaviors.com. All right. And then you're going to look into the radio thing. No problem. I wish I could give you like a miracle. Unfortunately, there's no magic thing for it as well. Sorry about that. Okay. Do you recommend any over-the-counter calming treats that are safe and effective for pups? I have yet to see one where a study shows that it is effective more than placebo. I'm going to put that out there. I have not seen anything over-the-counter that is. I have not seen any studies with over-the-counter calming treats that are actually better than a placebo in a study. And anybody who tells you that, what is it? That oh God, that hemp oil stuff. What is that? It's the chemical hemp oil thingy. Oh. Anyway, if anybody tells you about that stuff, it does not work for behavior. I will repeat that. It does not work for behavior. It only works in what is that? Oh, I'm gonna have to look this up real quick while we're talking. But the hemp oil type stuff, CBD. That's it. Thank you, Cammie. Yes. Okay. So with regards to the CBD stuff, all those like natural oil stuff, none of them are showing any better than a placebo. And in fact, in the CBD studies, the placebo actually did better than the CBD with regards to behavioral things. So far that I know of, CBD works for a very specific type of seizure and a very specific inflammatory issue in the, I want to say the knees, but in the back end of the animal. I would talk with your vet about it. Really, if you're going for calming treats, I actually communicate with clients' vets sometimes in these situations so that we're all on the same page and what we think needs to be done. Vets do have stuff that's not like harsh chemicals to help with this. They also might recommend some things such as I want to say beta blockers and things like that. Those types of things can work. Melanin, that can work to an extent, but whenever talking about that stuff, I always say go to your vet, because I work on the brain side and the behavior side. They know the physical and anatomy side. But I do follow studies, especially with behavioral things. And so far, the CBD oil is not impressive at all. And in fact, is with regards to those. One of my pups gets really anxious and cries in the car. Okay. Anxious and cries in the car. This could, now one fact, I'm not saying that it is this, but one thing that people tend to forget about is some people and animals get car sick. And if your animal gets car sick, they will never like cars ever. So keep that in mind. There are medications you could potentially do for a car trip with your dog, such as that would be like she threw up. Okay, that tells me your dog is car sick, which means there is a physical issue with going into the car. And that is way more common than people realize. A lot of people that hate their dogs just hate their car. 9 times out of 10, it's because their dog is car sick. And unless you fix the physical issue, you're not going to fix the behavioral issue. Yep, it doesn't take much. Depending on everyone and everything. I get car sick, but I can drive. If I'm driving, I'm fine. And also, if I'm the passenger, I can go in town, no problem. But if I go maybe 15, 30 minutes, I can't be reading my cell phone. I can't be reading a book or anything like that. My eyes can't be doing that, or I instantly get sick. But that's my method. I know some people who will pop very easily, and I myself don't pop, but I will start sweating and I will feel like crud at the end of the thing, and possibly up the next half hour to an hour, depending on how the car ride was. When we lived in the mountains of Georgia, it was a nightmare for me. And in fact, actually, I had a dog then. We found out he was car sick when he got dewormed at the vet and vomited up the pill on the way home. But when we moved to Kansas, it all went away. The reason was his level of car sickness was not that bad when out of a twisty-turvy mountain range. But that honestly wouldn't surprise me. You can get de-stressors, but honestly, you might want to get motion sickness. Look into motion sickness pills for your pet with regards to it, and see what the vet says. Unfortunately, and yeah, because when there's a physical issue, it's very difficult to get on top of the behavioral aspect of it. Sometimes I'm working in tandem with the vet; they're working on the physical side, and I'm working on the behavioral issues that cropped up because of the issue, such as like if usually it's like pain or something. So if something's hurting their legs, then they will they'll be more crabby, just because, I mean, if you have a migraine, you're going to be more crabby, and things of that nature. So that would be the that would be what I would look into in that situation. Honestly, it sounds like I probably hit the nail on the head, but I would talk with your vet to figure that out for sure. Oh, go away.
That would be what
I want to be quiet. Yeah. Sorry, I was opening up the YouTube just to make sure nobody put anything in there. All right. Okay. They have an appointment next Tuesday. We'll check into that. Excellent. Yeah, I would definitely check in with regards to that. And wait, were you the one who asked about the? Yes. Okay. So these are the 4-month-old puppies. Another factor is you might be lucky; they might grow out of it. So, but until they do, you might have to just deal with the fact that they're car sick for a little bit. Just like my car sickness was way worse when I was younger. As an adult, not as bad. Still, boats are bad for me, but there's no real set law as far as those types of things. But I'm 90% sure your dogs get car sick is the issue. So, all right. Well, we're a little past time, but I'll give a couple more minutes if anybody wants to put any last questions in. Let's see if there's a new chat overlay feature, but it's not working. Nobody sees anything. Sad Panda is sad. Okay. Well, if anybody has any questions, go ahead and put those in the chat. I'll stay on for a couple more minutes. We're past the time. We've got a nice little busyness with people tonight. So if anybody has any questions, go ahead and put those into the chat. Okay. 4th of July is coming up. All right. Coming up, and my pit bull has such a hard time. I have tried the Thunder shirt, putting music. What else can I do? Okay. Thunder shirts work sometimes, and they sometimes don't. It's one of those things. I'll throw it out there for people, but I always expect that they won't, because I'm going to just plan for the worst, because that's the way my mind goes. I got to plan for the next alternative, and if it does work, great. But especially if the anxiety is too much, then it's not going to work. Really, what it is there's going to be there is going to be a little bit of what do I want to say? Basically, I try to desensitize them. So I would actually try to desensitize them to loud noises and things. So basically make bang and then click, give a treat. Don't go click, give a treat, and then bang, though, because then the reward will become tainted by the scary thing coming afterwards. What we want is the scary thing first, followed by good things to help alleviate that. And also, don't start at max value. Like, don't go bang. Just start with bang, just enough to make them go what, and then good, and then what, and then good. What we're going to be working through is making them less reactive to it. You're desensitizing them to it. It's the same thing we do with gun dogs. If they have any fidgety about it, it's bang, treat, bang, treat. And then it gets associated with positive. You probably don't have enough time to work him through it in just a few days. That reminds me, I need to re-share this video. I'm actually going to probably end with this video because it is the 4th of July, and it's going to have the click again. Okay, so a clicker is a marker, and we call it a bridge or a marker. I like the word marker. It's just more precise. We're marking a moment in time when something good is about to happen. Literally, the only thing you associate rewards with it. If you say good or good boy, good girl, you're doing the same thing, but only if 100% of the time that they hear it, they get a reward. So by getting that reward, you create that association and it becomes much stronger, more powerful. And then they're like, oh, it's coming. and you just want to mark, it just marks the exact moment they did things, because you can't teleport the treat in their mouth, and timing is everything with regards to it. So that's what the click is. Usually I am using what's often called clicker training, but with clients. I liked the clickers. Let's see if I got one near me. Usually do, but because we're moving, everything's packed up. And I think I moved all my... Excuse me. I moved all my clickers out into the cars because I don't generally need them by my office. Oh, here's one right here. Although if any of them hear it, I will have to give them a treat. So, but anything like this, and it'll be just a little quick little marker. As I said, I do also do verbal cues as well with it to create that association. So basically that just marks, hey, you're about to get a treat. Hey, you're about to get a treat. Usually on the training end side of things, we will do it because, hey, you did the right thing. Now here comes a treat. With this desensitizing thing, we're just marking like, hey, you just endured that. Good job. And then the treat follows. So they just know it's coming. And we want to create that association with the thing. Now, but as I said, you don't want to taint the marker by having that happen first, followed by the scary thing. Because if the scary thing overpowers the treat and reward, then that's bad. But if you follow it, then at least something good is coming after the big scary thing. And then you're not tainting the click and everything, because that's the first thing that happens is always the most important. I'm actually going to end with a old video that I made, and I need to reshare that ASAP, because we are about 2 weeks to what we call the doggy apocalypse. Yeah, so oh, there it is. We're about 2 weeks from the doggy apocalypse, and I think this is a good piece of information for people. The other factors, before I get into this, the other things you can do, anything where you can dull the noise. Go into the basement, playing music upstairs and downstairs, just anything you can do to get rid of that noise. There's even like a $5,000 or $1,000 little dog bed kennel thing that you can get. It has noise dampeners. It creates really what you want is a white noise. Anything that's creating white noise to disrupt all those things. There we go. Fireworks. There's the one. Do 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 do. Why do I have two? Okay, well, it's probably this bigger one. All right. So anyway, that is what I would do. Okay. Oh. Shush. Okay. This is an older video, so pardon me for the level of quality, etc. Let's see if I can get rid of things. Need to. That stays. That goes. Go away. Go away, thing. So anyway, so yeah, I would bang, click, reward, but start low. Don't start high, because if you start too high, you're actually, I mean, if somebody has arachnophobia, you don't throw the spider on them day one. You don't want to throw the spider on them day one. You want to actually start lower and then work your way up to touching a spider or something like that. So same with the loud noises. Start with as soon as where they're like, huh, and reacting a little bit. And then once they stop reacting to that, then you make it louder or more sudden or scarier kind of deal. Okay, I'm going to play this video. Let me know if you guys can't hear it, and I will try to improve it. It is one of my earlier videos, as I said, so we'll see how it goes. Boop, boop, boop. Wish me luck. All right. And we'll end on that. And I thank you, Al, for participating with me, but I hope this video covers anything. And it also has my old name, Bestial Behaviors, instead of Best Behaviors on the shirt, but that's okay. Yeah, if anybody has any other questions, you can get a hold of me via my website at bbbehaviors.com, 620-805-9429. You can also email me at whitbuckman@bbbehaviors.com. And I will leave you guys with this discussion on fireworks that I did a few years ago. Now to share. All right. 4th of July. A lot of people have their dogs that kind of freak out to loud noises. Usually this is because the dog is not desensitized or used to those noises. If you have time to lead up to it, or actually during it, especially if you have a young pup, what you can do is you can actually get them used to it. If you are using clicker training, basically what happens is loud bang noise, and then you click, and oh yeah. So instead of running and hiding like you saw Xanadu there about to do, Oscar's now used to it. He's like, whatever. That does weird, random stuff. But we've created now a positive association. So what happens is we hear another little bang, and it's not as bad. Yes, okay, gotta get everybody some treats. I know. Here you go. Chicken for everybody. There you go. Now you notice this pack here, Xanadu's reacting the worst, but she went to go run and hide from the loud noise. She heard the click because she's now used to this, and she turned around for her reward. So that means she's going to start staying more for the sound, and you slowly desensitize them to the process. Now, yes, okay. Everybody gets a reward because you all hear the click. I know. There you go. Now, if they are just past threshold being that kind of mental state where you're not thinking rationally. Humans get to threshold, animals get to threshold, it's not that big a deal. But if you hit that point, you're not thinking coherently is basically the issue. The thing you need to do is make sure that they have a calm place to go to. One thing I advise not doing, if you can help it, obviously sometimes they have just such anxiety, they're very destructive, and you might need to confine them for their safety and the safety of your things. But if you can help it, try to give them a place to go. A nice dark place that's quiet. My advice, one is someplace that is far from an exterior wall, as far as you can go. If you have basements, great. If you have a central bathroom that's maybe not attached to the exterior walls, go there. Kind of like, well, if you're here in the Midwest, think like of places where you'd go during a tornado. No glass, no nothing. The reason is that bang popping sound, you can actually hear it reverberate on the glass even louder almost than other parts of the house. Alright, so go someplace like that. Another mistake I see is when they do put it someplace centralized, they don't notice the vents or the fireplace. A fireplace is a great echo chamber for that pop from the outside to echo down the pipes and then shoot out. Don't put the kennel or whatever you're using for a calm place, don't put it next to one of those. Those can easily start freaking out the animal. This also works during storms. There's a lot of times I go into a home and they say, well, they freak out, and they freak out while in the kennel, and I look and I'm like, well, the kennel's right next to a giant whistle, aka the chimney that's right by the fireplace, and the chimney becomes a giant whistle during those storms and making those loud noises worse. So what you want to do, if you can, start working with your pup. Start using those, giving positive reinforcements. They hear that loud bang, start giving treats. Eventually they'll readjust the idea in their head, and they'll start thinking that it is a more positive thing. This is also how you kind of get gun dogs or any dog that's supposed to be around loud noises used to that, so they don't freak out. The problem is, it was when they have a very bad experience and no positivity at the end, and then that becomes a phobia later on. Okay, so work on training. If you have treats, at least give those when they hear the loud bang. Then find them a place that they can hide and go, and don't drag them or force them out of there as much as possible. If you have to arrange it so that you leave and they're in a safe spot, so be it. But try your best to make sure that they kind of choose their place of hiding. They get to go where they, if you feel, where they want to. If you're already afraid and somebody just grabs you and shoves you in a cage, you're not going to get calmer in that situation. So, also exude confidence. One issue so many people have is that they start freaking out because they know the dog's going to freak out. And they feel bad, and then they start going, oh, I need to do something for you. I need to help you. Problem is, from a dog's perspective, that means the person or the entity, you, being their stable point in their life, you know everything. And suddenly, you're freaked out. That means they should be freaked out. You're usually their calm, their pillar, their stability. If you are freaking out, even if it's just because you're trying to coddle them and help them, that looks to them like this is a situation they really should be afraid of. And they also might start thinking in their head, we don't know for sure, but they might start thinking in their head that they're the ones who now have to be the protector. And they're not used to that role in their mind. So, best thing to do is exude confidence. If a firework goes off and the dog starts freaking out, just go, oh, that was a thing, wasn't it? Go get a reward. Get the pup back into a calm state. It's amazing. I mean, there's a reason that we have the term comfort food, because that creates a little endorphin kind of rush inside of us that helps calm us during those problematic situations. So, find a place, train, and be calm. Thunder shirts, things like that, I don't necessarily say don't use them, because they have worked for many in the past. Don't count on them though. Oftentimes I find that they have about a 50-50 shot. The last thing that you can do is go to your vet. If your vet is willing to give you some medications, if it's really bad. However, I also would like to iterate that going to your vet for medications for these problems, I would like to be done as a last resort. Do that last, not first, because that way you can actually do a more natural form of getting them used to it, desensitizing them with those, it's going to happen again, with those loud noises. And notice she did not run this time, because now the loud noise means a treat's coming. You want a treat, buddy? You heard it. Yes, I would, please. Okay, so that is the process that we go through for storms. You get them used to it. Does that mean they're going to be perfect every time? No. Oscar here, he's actually pretty calm during storms, but he doesn't like to go outside when the fireworks are going off. So also you might have to reschedule a little bit for the potty breaks. You might have to change them so that way you are letting them out when the fireworks are less likely to go off. Maybe that means earlier and then a little later. You're going to have to find that out with your own schedule. So, that said, we have fireworks going from, I believe, the 27th, and I think they go until the 7th. I'd have to look that up. I'll probably put that somewhere in the written up comments regarding this.
I believe that's changed now
basically
since I made this video initially.
Stay calm, find them a calm place, train if possible, or desensitize them and give them rewards for just enduring something that's scary, and then consult your vet for possible medications to just kind of take the edge off if all else is failing. All right. If you have any questions, please post them. I'll be happy to answer them. If you have anything else you'd like me to discuss in future posts, let me know. Thanks for letting me talk with you. I hope to see you guys again in the future. Bye. Thanks for everybody for coming out tonight. If you have any other questions, feel free to message me either through Facebook or text me or call me in any other ways that I have put out there. But you guys have a great rest of your day and good luck on this doggy apocalypse season. Every dog is an individual with its own fears and desires. Every family is an individual with their own goals and lifestyles. There's no magic wand solution for basic training, aggression, or anxiety issues. Together, we can come up with a solution that fits your home. I follow the animal behavior analysis model and philosophy. I work with the animal in front of me, not the breed or the species. For example, not all labs are friendly and want to swim, and not all German Shepherds want to guard things. I focus on what the family and the pup are dealing with and what you all need to grow together. Text me, email me, or call me so that we can start working on solutions for you and your family.